Funerals are some of the hardest moments we ever go through, and knowing what to say to those around us can feel impossible. We want to help comfort someone, but the truth is, a lot of the most common phrases don't actually help at all. In fact, they can unintentionally make the pain a lot worse. We all have differing levels of social skills, and sometimes even relationships with those closest to us can be complex. The stress of trying to say the right thing in the moment doesn't necessarily come naturally. That's why in this video, I'm going to talk you through some of the most common pitfalls and give you an actual plan on what to say and do to help bring comfort to someone who's grieving. Before we get into it, I'd love to hear from you. What's something you've heard at a funeral, be it comforting or a little bit rough to hear, that really stuck with you? Share it in the comments, because that experience might help someone else find the right words. The first thing on my list of what not to say is they're in a better place. Now, when I lost my sister, I've probably heard this 3 or 4 times afterwards. And it's not necessarily wrong, and it does come from the right place, but it can feel a little bit dismissive. We don't all share the same values or the same religious beliefs, and this "they're in a better place" is sort of this abstract concept that doesn't always bring comfort, because at the end of the day, that person you really loved has been ripped away from you. They're no longer with you, and then to be told they're somewhere better without you, it can be tough to hear in the moment. And while I don't think this is the worst thing you could say by any means, it's something people say a lot, and it can come across as insensitive, especially if not said in the right context. A much better alternative is, "I'm sorry you're going through this. I can't imagine how hard this would be." Now, this is just in general a great thing to say to someone, because it really validates their feelings and where they are in that moment of loss. It's really difficult to lose someone, and the reality is we're not always going to have the right words to say. So giving them that space and that freedom just to feel and have that own unique experience and not have it compared to anyone else, it can bring a level of comfort. The second thing to avoid saying is the second most common, and I've gone with this list in order of what I hear most commonly, not necessarily in what's worse, because I think it's just the best sort of thing to stamp out, and that is, "I know exactly how you feel." You don't. That's the reality of it. It also does this weird thing where it brings you into it and sort of changes the focus of them, their grief, the deceased and their legacy, and makes it how you're both feeling, rather than you putting the focus on them and bringing comfort. A much better alternative is, "I can't imagine what you're going through, but I'm here for you." And that's really the nuts and bolts of all you have to say, is let them know that you're there. You're there to support them. You're there if they need a shoulder to cry on. You're there for them. You know, a funeral is difficult, but the deceased is gone. A primary purpose of you being that sort of glue, that person that helps, is to be there for those who have lost. The third one is, at least they lived a long life. And personally, this is a tough one, because at one stage or another, it's probably something I've said to someone. Maybe not necessarily at a funeral, but that justification of they've lived a long time, so it's okay, it can really sting. Just because someone's lived a long time doesn't make the loss any harder. You're talking to your grandfather and you've just lost your grandmother. This can really sting, because you know it's justification that it's okay. And even if you personally feel that way, they might feel like their world has come to an end. They've lost someone that is all encompassing, that their life revolves around, and it's really not what you want to hear. A much better alternative is, they lived an incredible life. Their loss always felt so deeply. It's mentioning that they've lived that long life without justifying it. The fourth one to avoid is, everything happens for a reason. And this is a very common one as well. It stings more because it can come across as cold. We don't really know the greater plan. For me personally, I don't think we should be expected to. But this is more just a Hail Mary of, everything happens for a reason. You're trying to justify the great unknowns of life. And I don't think this brings any comfort at all. I can't really imagine a scenario where even with context, this is a good thing to say. I think it's just straight one to avoid. Even if you are religious and this is your belief that, this is God's plan, it's not necessarily everyone else is there. Even if publicly they, identify as Christian or, any sort of religious denomination that holds those beliefs, you don't really know the inner workings of someone else's faith. And I think it's just easier to avoid. A much better alternative is, I wish I had the words, I just want you to know I care. You'll see a theme with all of these alternatives that it's more just making it about them. It's about honouring the legacy and honouring that deceased person. It is a tricky one because sometimes people will want to hear that. They'll want to have a justification for it, and you can't entirely, rule this out as something that, wouldn't work. But I think it's just a safer alternative to avoid saying this phrase. Another one to avoid, you'll get over it soon. Now this is a kick in the teeth. I think this is one of the worst ones on the list, and it's really just stamping a timeline on grief and almost telling someone that, get along with it. You shouldn't be grieving. And there's nothing worse, there's nothing less supportive you can really say, or at least the sentiment this carries, than that. And it is one I'd avoid at all costs. A much better alternative is take all the time you need. I'm here to help. This is simple, straight to the point. If they want a meal, if they want a shoulder to cry on, if they want, someone to drive them somewhere and visit a place that, was important to the deceased, these are all little things that you can offer. And I think it's important to sort of not just have empty words, but to really as a whole just do the follow-up with everything you say and do today on this day, on the day of the funeral. You really want to follow up, and that's immensely important. Like, these alternatives I'm giving aren't just empty words. Follow them up. God doesn't give us something we can't handle. Again, just totally brushing past their loss that could still be hitting like an absolute truck and making it about something else. Even if that's truly what you believe in it, and it might well be, it's just not the time and place for it, especially at a funeral. My bonus tip would be, sometimes silence is best. There's a world where you don't have to say anything. Give someone a nod, give them a big warm hug, hold their hand and sit beside them. In a moment of absolute loss and grief, the reality is you might not know what to say at all. There might be nothing you can say to relieve that grief or make them feel it a little less. Sometimes you just have to feel it. You both might just have to feel it. In that sort of zone, some physical contact, depending on the person, can be a really great way to show just physically that you're there for them and that you're not trying to make it okay. Remember, it's less about saying the right thing and more about showing up. I know for me personally, a lot of people sort of offered help and guidance and shared their own experience through those moments of, the funeral and after my father and my sister's passing. But what I really remember is the people that showed up in the weeks and the months after. The ones that, hey, I'm thinking of you, how are you doing? The ones that sent food or a memory or something they shared and cherished of those people I lost, to sort of show that they were still thinking of them too. And I think there's probably nothing more important you can do than this. It's not a sprint. You're not just trying to get someone through the funeral. You really want to show your support in the weeks and the months and potentially even years that come, because loss can stay with us. For some people, grief is something they might not never move on from. It's stages for a reason, and we're all going to work our way through things at different times and different stages. Showing up is really what counts for most people. My name is Chris, and I'm from GoldenGoodbyes.com. We help people craft eulogies, plan funerals, and other death-related topics that are hard to talk about, but necessities of life. It'd be great if you could subscribe and support the channel, or even just share the video with someone who's got a funeral coming up. My purpose of this channel is to get the word out there and to help more people in difficult situations that a lot of us don't want to talk about, but everyone goes through.